everyone, Jenna Sackett here, and I'm super excited to be doing this session with you all on heat pressing UltraColor transfers. So Josh just did an amazing session where he talked about a lot of the different things that comes to being able to successfully be able to heat apply this game-changing product, and a product that ultimately will definitely make you more profitable in your heat printing business. And one of the things that he mentioned is that it all starts with a heat press. And a lot of the characteristics within a heat press will definitely determine if the product is going to apply accurately. So we're going to do a quick review of the heat press. Then we're going to talk about 5 key things you want to consider to make sure that you are getting a successful application with these transfers every time. So we'll review those 5 things and a few other considerations that you definitely want to think about as you're pressing a variety of different things. So another thing that Josh mentioned in his session is being able to go outside of just printing t-shirts and getting into accessories and other types of popular apparel such as sweatshirts, zip-up jackets, or even polos. Because whenever you're targeting one customer, they're going to want more than just a t-shirt. We see a lot of different apparel styles that are trending out there in the marketplace, and it is ideal as a heat printer to know that you can successfully heat apply these products. So I have some helpers on with me. Thank you, Liz and Molly, for joining me for this session. They are going to be monitoring your questions throughout this session. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment those in the chat section, and we are going to make sure we're getting all of those questions answered for you. So I really like for these sessions to be very interactive. So definitely speak up if you have any questions. And of course, we always like to know where you're joining us from. So definitely comment that in as well. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to share my screen with you so that you guys can see some of the reference things that I'm going to be discussing with you. So the top 5 things that you need to know. The first thing is the key to a flat surface. So these are the 5 things that I'm actually going to dive deep in with you at the heat press. So we're going to do a quick overview of this real quick, and then we'll start at the heat press. So the first one is the key to getting a flat surface. We want to make sure the print area is always nice and flat so that our adhesive and transfer can apply accurately. The importance of preheating and prepping your garment is number 2 on the list. And then the use of a cover sheet. And we're going to be talking specifically about one cover sheet that is ideal for using with our UltraColor Soft. Then, of course, following those application instructions. This is the biggest one. We want to make sure we're getting accurate time, temperature, pressure, and making sure that we are using the right peel. There are a lot of different recommendations when it comes to heat transfers and when you should peel that carrier, whether it be hot, cool, cold, warm. I'm sure you've seen them all at this point as you guys are working with a lot of different heat transfers. So it's important to follow those instructions to a T so that you are getting a great application for this product. And then an additional thing, which is completing that finish, which we will review as we are demoing the product. All right, so that is the top 5 things. If you guys want to be able to reference this, this is something that you can find in the tab on the right-hand side. It's in a PDF format, so feel free to grab that so that you guys can have this on hand. Now, if you guys have not opened up your sample packs yet, this is something that I reference a lot when it comes to working with different products. UltraColor Soft, anytime you order the product, you are going to get the application instructions. So I'm going to be pointing to this a good bit as we are demoing at the heat press. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started loading on some items. I also want to know, have you guys opened up your sample packs yet, and will you guys be pressing these samples with me today? We're going to be pressing a few of these from the sample pack to show you, walking through those application instructions to make sure you're getting a successful heat application. So just let us know if you are heat pressing along, and so that I can take my time and kind of walk through this pretty quick, slowly, so that you can keep up. All right, so we are going to be pressing with the A to Z. If you guys have not seen the A to Z yet, it is a great startup press. It does give you readouts of your temperature and your time so that you know that you are getting an accurate application for whatever transfer that you are heat applying with this heat press. It does have a swing away feature, which is one of my favorite features of the heat press, because it gives me a completely heat-free layout, and it lets me load on my garment and really be able to eyeball where I'm placing my transfer, which is key whenever it comes to just being able to line things up, especially if you are doing unique placements that go beyond just your standard full front type of application. It is a 15 by 15 heat press, so it is a little bit smaller than the standard Hottronics machines that you guys have seen out there, that you guys can find in our show special section of the website. And it does have a little cover on the bottom platen that comes with it. That just makes it really easy to be able to thread on your apparel. And when I say thread, that means getting the print area of the garment completely isolated and flat. So we're going to jump back to that top 5 things list that you want to consider to getting a successful application with UltraColor. And that was ensuring that your surface is completely flat. That is where the threadability feature of this heat press comes into play, right? So I'm going to thread on my first garment. This is an ST350 100% polyester t-shirt. It's by the brand Sport Tech, and it's really, really popular for a lot of different applications. Again, you can source this from Sanmar, but what's nice is that because this is such a trendy type of finish, we're still able to heat apply this. So I'm going to just thread this on. This is another great feature that I love about the A to Z, is that I can either thread it on from the back or I can thread it on from the front. So a lot of the other Hottronics machines, if you've seen us at trade shows, watched any of our videos, or have attended any of the other virtual events, we always thread upside down. And for newbies, that's kind of mind-blowing, because what a lot of people are used to is just taking the t-shirt and just placing the entire thing on there and heat pressing like this. Not that this is wrong, but for a successful heat application with UltraColor Soft, what we want to avoid is doing exactly this. Reason being, I have the underlayer of the t-shirt, the back part, coming through and creating some wrinkles, and honestly just not giving me a nice, clean, flat surface to work with. Why could this cause an issue? Because these wrinkles under here, if it's close to my print area, it is going to cause an issue with pressure, where this piece is getting a lot more of the pressure. If my transfer is close to that, my transfer may not be getting the pressure it needs for that adhesive to cure accurately. All right, so we want to make sure that we are splitting the bottom of our t-shirt open, and we are threading this on and getting our print area completely flat. All right, so now I don't have to worry about the bottom of this t-shirt causing any issue. And now what I want to make sure is that any seams that could be on my bottom platen are completely out of the way. All right, so same issue that the underside of the t-shirt was causing with wrinkles popping up is the same issue that the seams could be causing as well. So our collar seam, even though this is a really thin, lightweight t-shirt, our transfer that we're applying is also thin and lightweight. And we don't want this to compensate getting a flat pressure to our transfer. So what we want to do is push this back and make sure that that seam is falling off of the back of the platen. We also want to make sure our sleeve seams are doing the same. So I'm just going to adjust this over and make sure that is completely out of the way. All right. So that is number one on our top 5 things that we want to consider for an accurate application with UltraColor transfers. The second thing is the importance of a preheat. We want to make sure we are prepping our garment. So I do have some wrinkles in the t-shirt, and we always talk about preheating, releasing moisture from the fabric as well. Not only can it release moisture, but it can also get rid of any chemicals that might be on the shirt. Apparel manufacturers tend to spray their product to keep it from wrinkling up during shipping and packaging and holding inventory. They don't want you to receive a shirt that's a wrinkled mess, so they may spray that. And those chemicals could be just keeping a top layer on there that could cause that adhesive to not apply accurately down the road, may cause it to want to peel off in a wash cycle. Now, we always guarantee that UltraColor Soft is going to last 50 plus washes in a wash cycle. So we want to make sure we're eliminating anything that could keep it from not lasting that long, and that is one of them. So preheat, very important. We're releasing wrinkles, moisture, or any chemicals that could be on top of our fabric. Another thing is this allowing me to test my pressure, and this is going to be key for our application instructions. So whenever we are looking at our application instructions, which I'm going to reference that sheet one more time, you can see that it gives us a temperature readout, a time readout, and a pressure readout. Now, one thing with the A to Z is that it does not give me a pressure readout. Excuse me. But I know that if I turn clockwise, and I always use a firm pressure whenever I'm applying UltraColor Soft. So I'm going to tighten this until I can't tighten anymore. That's how I know I am at a nice firm pressure for my UltraColor Soft application. Now, if I wanted to do a medium application, all I would have to do is take it from that firm and go counterclockwise about 2 times. And then I know I'm at a medium pressure. So anywhere between firm and medium, that's what's listed. It does give a number readout that says 6 to 8. So if you are working with a Hotronix heat press that does give you a pressure readout, that is the number that is going to pop up on the screen that indicates your PSI. All right, so that is what those numbers mean. So medium to firm. And what that preheat allows us to do is make sure that our pressure is where we need it to be for our application. So as I'm locking that down to preheat, I'm able to gauge, okay, I think I'm at a medium, maybe I need to increase to a firm for this application, etc. So preheat, get into the habit of just prepping your garment and testing your pressure before you go to place your heat transfer. So the first heat transfer I'm going to heat apply is the Serenity one. And in our sample pack, it has listed out that this is the UltraColor Stretch. UltraColor Stretch, really great for 100% polyester. Jennifer is going to review what to use when with these products. So make sure that you are tuning into her next session so that you guys can check out when is the best time to order what style of UltraColor. So Josh did mention that there are 3 different types of UltraColor options. And sorry, I don't know why that word couldn't come to me. But there's UltraColor Soft, which we are going to apply last. I'm going to apply UltraColor Stretch and then one with a blocker as well. And Jennifer is going to dive in what to use when it comes to ordering and things like that. All right, so the application I'm going to do for this is a left chest logo. So I'm just going to place that. And what I'm doing right now to kind of gauge where I want it to show up or where I want it to be placed is I'm looking where my seam from my collar meets the seam to the shoulder. that connects to the sleeve. All right, so then that is indicating my center. And then I'm dropping about 6 inches down from there. Of course, that all depends on the size of the t-shirt as well. So just make sure you're taking those little key considerations into thought whenever you are placing your designs. If you guys are fairly new to placing different dimensions, logos, and just unique areas beyond just a standard full front, we do have a really great resource known as the placement guide, and it lets you know kind of where things should show up on a garment or an accessory and what dimensions to use. Okay, so I have my transfer placed. Number 3 on the list is cover sheet. Right, so anytime you're working with UltraColor and you order those transfers, this is the cover sheet that comes with it. If you happen to not have this on hand, which I just recommend just keeping them as you're ordering UltraColor Soft, so that you can kind of create a stockpile for yourself. Because if you ever get into heat applying fully sublimated garments and that ink transfers to this, you'll have another one on hand, or even trim this in half if need be. If you happen to ruin one of these, maybe it tears, maybe you get ink on it, and you have some craft paper on hand, this is another good cover sheet that you can use. Why are cover sheets important? Well, they're important for a number of reasons. Mainly, we want to use cover sheets with UltraColor Soft because it is a cold peel and there is a lot of static that comes from the upper heating element whenever we lift it up. If that static happens to lift this carrier, it's going to start removing it from the print itself. And because it is a cold pill, we want to avoid that from happening. So this is going to cover that to make sure that it doesn't accidentally start peeling away too soon while it's still hot, because it will ruin it. It's not going to peel correctly. Also, it can protect your upper heating elements from getting any inks or adhesives on it that could potentially transfer down onto another garment. Now, the reason that we are pointing out the cover sheets is because if you've worked with Transfer Express's other products, such as Goof Proof or Pearl Prints, any of the other screen printed products, plastisol ink products, we always say don't use a cover sheet because those carriers act as a release paper for the screen print transfers, and they are very similar to a craft paper or a cover sheet. So you don't necessarily need one with the other plastisol ink transfers. For our digitally printed screen printed transfers, UltraColor Soft, we want to make sure we are using the cover sheet that comes with your order. Or like I said, if you have craft paper, you can use that as well. All right, so that is number 3 on the list, the importance of using a cover sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and place this down. And number 4 on the list is following those application instructions. So I'm going to reference this one more time because I don't want the messaging to get lost here. You want to make sure that you are following the recipe we are giving for each of these transfers. And if you'll notice, we have soft, stretch, and stretch with blocker. They have all of the same application instructions. So no confusion. It's always going to be for UltraColor Soft, 290, 12 to 15 seconds, medium to firm pressure, and a cold peel, right? I'm going to repeat that one more time. 290 degrees, right? So if I'm working with the A to Z, I can adjust this by selecting mode, and it's going to light up my screen. I apologize in advance that I cannot get you any closer to this heat press, but I will make sure that I'm holding up the samples once they're being printed and showing you an up close look at them. But anyway, to the A to Z, you have the mode button that is going to light up the right-hand side of the screen, and it's going to say temperature set. This is letting you know that you can adjust your temperature at this time. There are plus and minus buttons on each side of the mode button that allows you to adjust your temperature. Then you want to adjust your time. So I have my temperature set to 290 degrees. Now I'm going to select mode one more time, and it is going to light up on the menu set time. All right, so it's letting me know that I can adjust my time. On our application sheet, it says 12 to 15 seconds. I'm using the 15-second application or time for the application, and now we're all good. So I'm going to hit mode one more time to hop out of that menu and let my heat press know, okay, now it's time to get to temperature and get to the right time. Now I already had this set up, so we are good to go. I'm going to swing my heating element around, and now I'm just going to let the press do the rest of the work for me. I'm just going to lock this in place. It is now on the screen counting down the time. So we're at 7 seconds. All right, and this is going to be a cold peel. So remember that from the application instructions. So we're going to remove this from the bottom platen, and I'm just going to place it on a cool surface. So I have a metal chair over here, so I'm just going to let that set on there. And while we're doing this, I'm going to jump to Liz and have her read me any questions that may be coming in for right now.
All right, so one question we do have from Brenda: will a higher temperature ruin the application?
Okay, great question. So what we do is we always try to get to the lowest temp for applying different products. So I'm going to give you kind of a broad answer here. Because there are so many apparel trends that incorporate synthetic fabrics, 100% polyester, poly, spandex blends, rayon, modal, all of those really heat sensitive synthetic fabrics, you need a low temp to be able to heat apply, but also not compromise the finish of the garment. And what I mean by compromising the finish of the garment, I mean scorching, creating heat press marks, anything like that. So we recommend applying this at 290 degrees because it is the lowest temp that you can get it to apply accurately without damaging synthetic fabric apparel. If you want to apply it at a higher temperature, maybe 300 or 320, maybe you're pairing it with another product that has to apply at a higher temperature. It's not going to damage the product at all. But I just want you to consider what you're putting the product on, because that could cause it to scorch or create a heat press box on there that won't come out. In short, yes, you can increase the temperature if you need to. All right, so our transfer is nice and cool. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And you guys can see the finish there. All right, so it looks really great on 100% polyester. And I just love the feel, buttery soft. I wish you guys could feel it through the screen. I always say that, but you guys did get a sample of this. So if you guys haven't opened up your pack yet, pull this out because it's the same exact transfer. Now, the polyester that we have this applied to is a little bit thicker. So the product, it feels great on there. But if you're putting it on a thin, lightweight polyester, it feels even better. And I'm going to hold this up close to the mic because I want you guys to hear that it doesn't take on like a papery feel like some of the other digital products out there. So that is why a lot of people are loving DTG, because it is ink directly onto the shirt. There really is no middle media, is what I'm going to call it, that is being printed on and then heat applied. And this is going to be a very similar feel. It feels like ink as opposed to a digitally transferred product, right? So really great finish there. You can see all of the colors and detail you are able to achieve, even that fine text at the bottom. So that is the UltraColor stretch. So I'm going to stretch this for you too. You can see no cracking or peeling. Does not distort the image at all. All right, so really great product there. Going to be amazing for poly spandex blends and things like that. All right, let's walk through those application instructions one more time, and then we are going to cover number 5 on the list, which is completing the finish. This is going to be key for some of those darker colored fabrics. So the t-shirts that I'm about to load on there is a Sport Tech brand from Sanmar, and it is 100% polyester mesh. Okay, so you can kind of see my hand poking through there. This is going to require the dye blocker. So we're going to be using that sample next, which is the number 8 with the little tiger mascot in it. Right, so just loading that on, getting my print area nice and flat. That's number 1. So making sure that that collar is off the back of my platen. And this is the transfer we're going to use. This is the blocker. Has a little charcoal backing on there. So that is blocking any dyes from migrating through. Right, so before we place that, what do we want to do? Number 2 is preheat and test our pressure, press the garment, prep the garment. So I'm just going to lock this down. And it doesn't even need to be a lockdown. If I know my pressure is set and I know my pressure is good to go, I can just literally set this on there for a few seconds and pop it back up. Right, so preheat doesn't have to be a full application type of heat or lock. I don't know what I'm saying. When you lock that down, it doesn't have to be completely locked down. Okay, so then we're going to place our transfer. This is really hard to do from the side, by the way. So if my applications don't come out perfect, please don't judge me. All right. So there we have our placement. Cover with the cover sheet. We want to make sure that we are not getting any static that could be lifting up that transfer. And we also want to protect our upper heating element whenever we are locking this down. We want to keep any inks from getting to it, because there will be times where you go to lock this down on something else and that ink will transfer onto another garment, and it's really hard to remove. So we're going to lock that down and let our heat press do the rest of the work for us. And then we are going to cold peel. Liz, has any other questions come in?
Yes, they are flowing in. I'm going to put 2 together. A couple ladies asked parchment paper or any type of, paper they could use if they don't have cover sheets.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, this cover sheet is going to come with your UltraColor Soft order. So this will be in the pack whenever you order those transfers. So definitely use that. But I recommend if you're going to use a cover sheet and you don't have this on hand, craft paper works great. Very similar to parchment paper. Other questions?
Yes, a couple people asking, can we print on yoga mats, mugs, wood, different type of those types of surfaces?
Yes. So I haven't tested UltraColor Soft on yoga mats or wood yet, but we have done it. So I know it can be done. I just haven't tested this product on there, but there are so many different things that this product is going to be capable of. We just have to test it a little bit more. But we have successfully heat applied onto yoga mats and wood with some of our other transfer products, which has basically the same adhesive as the UltraColor Soft. So there should be no reason why it will not work. But I will add those products to the list for testing, and stay tuned for some of that. We're always going live in the Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, on our YouTube channel, and also our Facebook page, Stahls All Things Heat Printing. So we'll have to make that a class. All right. Were there any other questions, Liz?
Yes. Everyone's loving the shirt, by the way.
Awesome.
There is. So can you talk about the use of power plates for UltraColor on sensitive garments?
Okay. That's a good question. And I'm going to have to circle back on that one. I'll visit the chat session after this. I know we're working on testing transfers from Transfer Express on the power platens. I'm not sure if this one made the list yet. Do you happen to know offhand, Liz?
I do not. To
Okay.
my understanding, I assume she's asking about lower power platens.
Yeah, the ones that heat up.
Heat from the bottom. I don't think you have to use it for UltraColor Soft, but we can always circle back, like you said, because I want to make sure I'm 100% as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what I wanted to show you guys with this product is the outline there. All right, so you can see up close, whenever you are working on darker colors, there is a little bit of a clear outline. And what we want to avoid is the look of something just sitting on top of the garment. We want to make it look like it's part of the garment because that's what we're seeing in retail, right? That ink just kind of becomes one with the fibers of a garment. So we want to be able to mimic that look as much as possible. So what you can do to get rid of that clear outline is to load it back on there and hit it for a second time. Now, as you saw with the lighter neon yellow t-shirt, and I'll pull that up again, you can't tell because it's on a lighter garment. So I did not have to heat apply this one more time. Now I'll show you that same product or that same design on a black finish or substrate. And you can see that you can't see the clear outline because this one has been hit a second time. So we're going to do that same thing with the blue and show you how to get rid of that. So this is number 5 on the top 5 things to know whenever it comes to heat applying UltraColor, and that is completing the finish. So this is going to work best for any of those garments that are a little bit darker in color. So this is a pretty deep royal here. So we want to make sure that we are kind of just buffing out that clear edge. The reason that that shows up so vibrantly right now is because whenever we peel the carrier, that's a little bit of adhesive that is getting attached to the carrier as we're removing it. So it's making it just kind of stand out a little bit more. So we want to complete the finish by loading it back on. Now, this is optional. This is not like something you absolutely have to do. If you want that edge to look a little bit cleaner on there on some of the darker garments, this is something that you can do. As you can see, it does not look bad by just looking at it when it's done. So you can get away with just selling it as is. But if you want to just kind of get rid of that outline, this will do that. Right, so try to hold that up. So you can see it's not as white as it was, it's more clear and just not looking like a random outline of the transfer. All right, so awesome finish there. That was the blocker, no dyes migrating through. You'd be able to see it where the light is and the gradient just kind of migrating through and distorting the overall color and look of our number here. All right, so really great for sports. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you again, and we're going to do one more application, but we are going to use a heat press accessory so that you guys can see how to avoid seams that could compromise getting a nice flat surface, okay? So some more things to consider whenever you are working with UltraColor Soft. Right, substrate, cotton versus synthetic. So you guys may have noticed the trend in the garments that I'm using for these heat applications. I haven't used 100% cotton. I've used 2 garments that are 100% polyester, and I'm going to use a cotton poly blend on our next demonstration. The reason for this is it's not because it's not compatible with cotton, but as I mentioned earlier, UltraColor Soft is a very thin, lightweight product. So it's going to fill best on some of those lightweight garments that synthetic fabrics offer. Flowiness, anything that has polyester, rayon, tri-blend, things like that. 100% cotton is still something that is compatible with, but it's just going to look and feel better and work very well with those synthetic fabrics. So don't be scared to do 100% cotton, still something that you can do, but we definitely recommend for the best overall look and feel of the product to do 50-50 blends or just totally synthetic, like 100% polyester. Application error and how to handle. So anytime you are working with UltraColor Soft, maybe you didn't get enough pressure, maybe you were too close to a seam, anything like that. I don't want that to steer you in a negative direction and assume that, you know, well, the garment's completely ruined. There's nothing I can do at this point. I'm just going to have to toss it and eat the cost. Well, that's not the case. Don't be afraid to load the garment back on the heat press and hit it again for its application instructions. Walk through these steps. Did I follow getting a flat surface? Did I make sure my pressure was accurate? Is my time and temperature set to the right settings? What different things could be causing me to be experiencing error? 9 times out of 10, it's user error. It happened to me a lot whenever I first started working with the product. It's just that learning curve when it comes to working with new product. But don't be afraid to load it back onto the heat press and reheat apply, because it is not going to damage the transfer at all, okay? So if you happen to notice whenever you're peeling away the carrier, if a corner is lifting, that's okay. Just put it back on and reheat apply and make it work. All right, so can definitely get it on there with no issue. Now, I mentioned thick seams or anything that could cause uneven pressure or getting a flat surface. And there are accessories that you can use if you are working with a heat press that doesn't have interchangeable platens. The A to Z is one of those presses that you can use interchangeable platens with. And a lot of people don't understand the importance of interchangeable platens. So let me just review that with you quickly. And I like to compare this to why embroiderers need different size hoops. You always have to isolate the area that you're decorating, especially if there are buttons, zippers, any type of obstruction on the garment that could cause a surface to not get completely flat on your bottom platen. This is one of the easiest ways, interchangeable platens, to just be able to pop out the bottom platen, drop this baby in, and isolate that area. Now, if you are not working with interchangeable platens, that's okay, because there are other solutions. There are heat printing pads, okay? So Transfer Express offers pads. It's a mouse pad, you guessed it. You can trim these up. You can stack them on top of each other if you need to. Whatever you need to do to get that nice flat surface and isolate that print area, that's going to allow you to do that. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you on our next heat application. All right, so I'm going to be heat applying this really pretty peacock. And we're going to be using the Bella Canvas 50-50 blend. This is their streak fleece, really popular. So we're going to take it outside of just decorating t-shirts. All right, so I'm going to load this on, threading it, making sure that I'm working with just the top layer of my garment. All right, so the first thing, I wish I could bring you guys closer so that you guys could see this. There are seams, because this is a raglan style cropped sweatshirt. And the seams meet the crew right here, and then they drop down like raglan sleeves on baseball tees do. All right, so we need to avoid these thick seams from getting in the way and causing uneven pressure. So I'm going to use a mouse pad and I'm going to thread that up to my print area. Now, whenever I thread that, it's raising my print area, which is making the seams drop off to the side. So the seams aren't thick enough that I would need to add another pad in there or anything. But if I was working with a thick zipper or buttons, I may need to add another pad on top of that to raise that print area. Okay, so if you're not using interchangeable platens, these mouse pads are going to come in handy. Those are the recommended accessories for working with UltraColor Soft. So I'm going to cover with my cover sheet and lock this in place. And I am going to dial my pressure back just a tad because it was at a firm pressure. And now it's going to be at an even more firm pressure because I'm raising the print area, right? So anytime I'm loading on an accessory, whether that be an interchangeable platen or inserting a pad, that means I'm going to need to adjust my pressure, right? So I'm just dialing that back a little bit. I'm going to dial it back a little bit more. And we're going to lock that down. All right, so another accessory that is out there, and I'm only referencing this to show you what not to use. So I don't want you guys to confuse this. We are using either interchangeable platens or mouse pads. What you are not, I want to put this in bold on the screen and have it flashing. Do not use a pillow. Pillows do not work with plastisol ink transfers. They just do not apply accurately because it's a foam and it sinks down in, and it's just not giving it the firmness that it needs from the pressure to cure that adhesive to the garment accurately. So do not use heat printing pillows. Only use the print pads or the interchangeable platens. All right, so I can go ahead and remove my mouse pad. We're just gonna let this cool. And while we're letting that cool, Liz, any questions?
Yes, a couple actually with 100% cotton. Some people asking, can we use it for 100% cotton? Do we have to alter any instructions when using that fabric?
Nope, not at all. So you'll actually notice this on UltraColor Soft. Cotton is the first substrate listed for 290, 12 to 5. Ooh, okay. 12 to 15 seconds, medium to firm pressure. So it's going to follow all those same instructions. You don't need to adjust at all. Cotton still works. I just love the way, and I think if you guys do some testing with the samples and stuff, if you put it on a cotton t-shirt, I think that you're going to love the look and feel of it more on a synthetic fabric or a cotton poly blend. It's not that it doesn't work on cotton, but I do have a recommendation just from testing different substrates. If you are going to use cotton, it feels really good on ring spun cotton because ring spun cotton is not as heavy. It's lighter weight. And I feel like the transfers feel best on a lightweight shirt. Okay, so let's go ahead and peel this. And our application is complete. Great, so once again, 50-50 blend. This is from Bella Canvas. That was our UltraColor Soft. 100% polyester ST350 from Sanmar is the Sport Tech brand. This is the stretch. And then we have our blocker. And these are all samples that you guys can heat apply at home. All right, so make sure you guys are testing these out on different substrate types. Play with it. Okay, so let's review one more time. I'm going to share my screen and revisit those top 5 things. Here we go. 1, flat surface. Definitely want to make sure we are isolating our print area and getting it completely flat on the platen. or pad that you are using. Importance of preheat, prep your garment, release moistures, chemicals, wrinkles, use that threadability with the flat surface to get it completely flat and do your preheat. Then use the cover sheet. Make sure that you are keeping the product from experiencing any static and that lifting. Follow the application instructions. Once again, there are application instructions in that sample pack that you received. I also want to point out that Transfer Express is phenomenal when it comes to this. They always include application instructions with your order. There will always be a little sheet that has, you know, how to use and what substrates it works best with. So you'll always have that on hand. You never have to guess. Right? Time, temperature, pressure. Make sure you are peeling cold. And then complete the finish on some of those darker garments. All right, and that completes this session on how to successfully heat apply UltraColor Soft on your apparel. Gonna stick around for more questions. If you guys happen to have any, comment those in now so that we can address those. If we don't get to your questions now, we will revisit the chat and make sure that you are answering those. Also, as Josh mentioned earlier, if you guys want any one-on-one meetings to ask more questions, you can schedule that at the top right-hand corner of the screen, okay? Stay tuned for our next session where Jennifer Johnson is going to discuss more in depth each of these transfer types. All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Liz to point out any questions that are coming through.
All right. So one question we have from Sean, he asks, how do you eliminate platen press marks from happening when pressing firm on 100% poly apparel?
Good question. So I do a little bit of thinking beforehand whenever I'm considering the fabric that I'm going to heat apply, or maybe the customer is asking me to do 100% polyester. Now, one thing that I always talk about when it comes to 100% polyester is not all polyesters are made the same. Some will get scorched like crazy, even at the lowest temp that you could possibly go, 250 degrees on some transfer types. They will still scorch 100% polyester. You can avoid this by using the power platens that were mentioned earlier. They heat from the bottom. They are compatible only with our autoclam machine. So if you aren't working with an autoclam and you can't get the use of the power platens, then it just comes down to temperature and the type of polyester that you're choosing to heat apply. ST350 is phenomenal. I love working with this because it is literally like a Nike dry fit or an Under Armour t-shirt. That type of polyester, it feels amazing. And there's no scorch mark, right? So no heat press box. Another thing is there is a difference between bruising a t-shirt and scorching it. If you are bruising a t-shirt, that is because the pressure is too high. So then you want to dial back your pressure. So there are a lot of considerations that come into play as to why that could be happening. Temperature and pressure are the first two things I think of. And then the third thing would be, what type of polyester am I applying to? There are some polyesters that can handle heat and there are some that cannot.
Okay. All right, Jenna, this is for you since you're the ultimate crafter. Toya is asking, can we use a Cricut heat press?
I don't recommend. It's just hard to determine really if you are getting the right amount of pressure for the recommended dwell time. So with the Cricut machine, the Cricut press, I call it an iron, you have to kind of like put all your pressure on it, whereas this pressure is already integrated in the machine. It is all connected in here so that when I lock this down and I know I'm at a firm, it is dispersing the pressure evenly across the heating element so that I know I'm not getting any sections of my transfer that may not be heat applying. Unfortunately, that's just not something that you can achieve with the Cricut press, but I'm not going to rule it out. I just haven't tested it, but I definitely recommend using a standard heat press. That's one of the first things that we open the class with, is making sure that you have the right kind of heat press when it comes to applying these types of transfers.
All right, next question. Actually, a couple folks asked about this. 6-panel hats. Can this product be applied to hats?
Yes, it can be applied to hats. 6-panel, it doesn't matter, any type of hat, polyester, canvas, or twill ones, anything like that, it can be applied to hats. And I'm going to take one more question, and then I'm going to visit the chat section after this. So go ahead and just give me one more, and then we're going to break for 10 so that you guys are ready for Jennifer's session at 11.
Okay. And Jenna's favorite, no to pillows. So they want to know any type of mouse pad, print perfect pad.
Yeah, so you can also use the print perfect pad. So if you guys already have print perfect pads, you guys can use those. You guys can use any mouse pad for the most part, but just make sure it's not sublimated, because there are mouse pads out there that do have this poly coating over top of the silicone, or no, this might be neoprene. I don't know. I'm not good with that stuff. But just make sure that that top layer of polyester on your mouse pad is not sublimated, because that will be reactivated and it will definitely transfer onto the garment that you're heat applying. All right, so that is the last question that we're going to take for today, at least live. This session is being recorded. So if you guys happen to jump in late and maybe miss some of the other things, no worries. This is all being recorded, so you guys will have the opportunity to come back and watch these. I'm going to hop into the chat section now and answer any of those other remaining questions. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Join us next at 12 for Jennifer Johnson's session.